안녕하세요. 다들 좋은 한 주 보내고 계신가요? 저번 인터뷰 영상에 이어서 오늘 나머지 인터뷰 부분을 나누도록 하겠습니다. 여러분들의 투자에 조금이라도 도움이 되셨으면 정말 좋겠고요. 그리고 여러분들께서 인터뷰를 쭉 보실 수 있도록 인터뷰 중간에 제가 관리할 수 있는 유튜브 광고들은 모두 삭제하도록 하겠습니다. 시킹 알파에서 이번에 새로운 프로모션이 나왔는데, 시킹 알파의 주식 분석 시스템을 이용해서 가장 저평가되고 많이 오를 확률이 높은 주식들을 한 달에 2개씩 나눠주는 서비스를 1년에 199불에서 50% 할인해서 지금은 99불에 한다고 합니다. 한 달에 8불 내신다고 생각하시면 될 것 같습니다. 여기 보시듯이 이 서비스에서 추천한 주식에만 투자했을 경우에 2010년부터 지금까지 13년간 S&P 500 인덱스보다도 거의 2배 가까운 수익을 냈었고요. 알파 픽스로 가셔서 픽스 아래 관심 있으신 주식을 클릭하시면 이런 식으로 이 주식에 대한 분석과 왜 매수를 했는지에 대한 디테일이 나옵니다. 이 서비스에 관심 있으신 분들은 역시나 아래 디스크립션에 링크를 클릭하시기 바라겠습니다. 그리고 만약에 시킹 알파 등록 자체가 조금 불편하신 분들께서는 제가 영상 마지막 부분에 나눌 제 페이트리언 멤버십 통해서 다른 서비스와 함께 이 2개의 주식을 받아보실 수 있고요. 다른 것 말고 매달 2개 주식에만 관심이 있고 시킹 알파 등록도 불편하시다면 제 유튜브 채널의 멤버십을 통해서 매달 2개의 주식을 나누도록 하겠습니다. 제가 만든 컨텐츠들은 어디까지나 정보 전달을 위한 영상들이기 때문에 절대 영상만 보시고 주식들을 매도하지 마시기 바라고요. 본인 스스로 반드시 리서치를 더 하신 다음에 판단을 내리시기 바라겠습니다.
Is there a specific, let's say, indicator or something that you're keeping an eye on that you think will trigger this major market sell-off? And then the second question is, I hear this a lot where with the inflation that we have right now, people say, like Ray Dalio says, cash is trash. What's your opinion of having cash on the sideline versus always have to be in the market like 100%?
I would much rather just sit in cash and collect interest and watch my account slowly inch its way higher than hold on to something falling in value. To me, it makes absolutely no sense to hold something if it's going down. You know, if you've got a lot of money, you're close to retirement or you're in retirement, the buy and hold strategy is the stupidest, most risky strategy. You're diversified among stocks and bonds. You got a whole bunch of stuff. And when you diversify, you're stuck with average returns. When the market's screaming higher, you've got some assets that are screaming higher, but you also have a whole bunch of other things because you're spread out that are performing really bad. So you end up with this average buy and hold return, which is nothing. I mean, it's nothing exceptionally excited to get about. It's what everybody's used to, you know, a 7.5%, 8% return. Everybody's like, oh, I'll be happy with that. But you can do way better if you avoid the downturns or profit from the downturns. And when the stocks aren't favorable, you move to an asset that's good, or you just sit in cash. And we sit in cash probably more so in the past year because this market's been trading sideways. When we look at our shorter term strategy on the bottom chart, this is the one we trade. When it's red, we're not in a trade. So last year, you know, we were probably in cash like 40% of the time, maybe even more than that. And people were like, well, you're wasting time. How are you going to keep up with inflation? And people think, you know, you need to trade every move in the charts. The reality is, you know, just because inflation's high doesn't mean you would go out and you place a whole bunch of trades and try and beat inflation. Sometimes it's better to not get involved in the markets or to be very conservative and hold off and preserve your capital. I'm a huge believer of cash. I would much rather keep my lifestyle, keep my wealth. When a bear market, a stage 4 happens, almost everything goes down. Eventually they'll rebound and do very well, but there's no point in holding positions because you think you need to be in and you need to catch these moves. I was looking at your talk with Jim Rogers there, and he had a really good line. I can't remember what it was. He's like something like, if you want to be rich, be boring. And I say something just like that to my subscribers. I'm like, our strategy feels like watching paint dry because we know what the markets are doing. We know when we're getting out. We know where we're taking profits. We see everything coming and we have a game plan. And when you understand something, when you're a master at something, it doesn't feel like a rush. It doesn't feel like it's all new and exciting. It feels like a pretty boring, like literally painting the wall. I've done this before. This position is probably going to last several weeks. You know, we're not going to get out at the top. We're going to pull profits off. You know, it's so vanilla once you understand it. And that's what a lot of, you know, my subscribers always say. They're like, it's so slow and boring. It feels like we're not doing anything. And that's because we've got a game plan, and, you know, having the right mental game is crucial for survival in the financial markets. You got to get away from the emotions. You've got to understand the proper expectations. So many people get in who think you can make 30, 50% a year in the markets or 100% return on your account. And you can if you are super aggressive, Generally, people who do that have small trading accounts and they're trying to make as much as they can. And that's not who I'm trying to help.
So when the market actually does tank, the first question is, do you have a specific strategy that you are open to share on what assets you will be investing in? And then the second question is, as Stanley Druckenmiller was saying recently in his interview, that he thinks this is a market where it's not just one asset. It's like almost every asset is in a bubble stage or overvalued. I was just wondering your thoughts on, if this crash happens, how long do you think it might take, as you said, to, recover back?
I mean, nobody's going to want to hear this. I mean, it could be a very long time. To me, it is very, very similar to the 2000 tech bubble. It took the NASDAQ 16 years to recover. It took the SP 500 12 years to recover. It's a long, bloody time if you're close to retirement to lose half of your money and be underwater and withdrawing from your declined capital. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if it does, you're screwed. Like, you just had to downgrade everything you just worked your life for. You thought retirement's going to be great, or you thought you could retire. So it could be much worse. And I think there's going to be eventually a tipping point where we could get into this massive reevaluation event, and it could happen very, very quickly to the downside and then just grind its way higher and take forever to recover. It'll feel like forever for those who are on the wrong side of it, right? It's going to be terrible for most people. But for the proper investor who's prepared and sees it coming, it's a huge opportunity. So to get to your point, the bloodbath could last a long time. Make sure you're not on the wrong side. Preserve that capital. You don't need to make money during the collapse. You could sit back and watch it happen in cash. And then when the markets bottom, then you could be like, okay, I think the markets are bottoming. Maybe you want to get into follow a newsletter, somebody technical like me that can say, okay, now when we turn into a new bull market, that's when you could dump your money back into all kinds of different stocks or indexes or index funds or real estate. We need this reevaluation event, and it's going to be amazing. Get an understanding of the markets, understand kind of how they move. You can go to my website. You can join the free newsletter. If you scroll down, you can download that infographic you and I looked at. My free blog, I do videos. I talk about it all the time. I update. So just get a little bit of information. Find out what you're going to do if the markets sell off another, say they go down 15% from here. Are you going to maybe move your capital to cash and say, you know what, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to learn more about the markets before I lose any more, figure out who I want to follow, what I want to do, or all those things, and then put your money back to work when you're confident. As I always tell everybody, it's way better to miss out on some gains than it is to have 10 or 30 years of your life savings wiped out because you didn't know what to do and you just kind of sat there letting someone else just say, oh, just don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Just give it time.
I really think the audience should go to your website, and it's free. It's really valuable information. I think, as you said, the more you're prepared, cash actually comes. So
yeah. So just to touch on that. So if they go to my website, I'll just scroll down a bit here. If they scroll down to the bottom of the website, there is this, you can join the free newsletter. This is where once you join, you'll be able to instantly download the infographic. There's access to the blog. If you like the strategy that I've been talking about and it kind of jives with you, if you go to the books tab, I've published 2 different books, 2 of them last month. This one here is Asset Revesting. That is my CGS strategy. This is how to pull consistent profits out of the markets. This breaks it down, what I'm doing. I explain the charts and the stages that I showed you today. It's going to tell you all kinds of hidden realities that are silently killing investors and that will literally kill investors if we go into this stage 4. So that is all about the strategy. And there's also the Technical Trading Mastery book, where if you want to learn about my indicators you and I talked about, we can identify when the market on a short-term basis is overbought, oversold. We can actually spot highs and lows and actively trade them. And that's what this book is about.
I think these books will really help, beginners in investing and can learn a lot about the indicators and also how to, I guess, allocate their assets or money. Okay, well, Chris, thank you very much. I really, really thank you very much for your time today on sharing the great insights of the market. And it would be an honor for me to have you back on our channel as a guest, maybe by the end of this year, to see how the market plays out. And maybe you might have more great insights on that graph or what stage we are at. So again, thank you very much. And I would love to have you back on our channel.
Hey, it was a pleasure. A lot of fun, and take care.
All right. Thank you.
그리고 제가 이전 어카운트가 해킹되어서 삭제당하기 전에 진행하던 페이트리온 멤버십 서비스를 다시 진행하게 되었습니다. 플래티늄 멤버들과는 격주로 줌 미팅을 진행할 생각이고요. 매일매일 마켓의 인사이트, 시킹 알파에서 매달 추천하는 가장 저평가되고 오를 확률이 높은 2개의 주식들, 매주 전문 투자자들이 눈여겨보는 주식들, 그리고 제가 올해 눈여겨보는 주식 리스트를 업데이트 되는 대로 다 나눌 생각입니다. VIP 멤버들과는 방금 말한 서비스에 더해서 새 4명의 전문 투자자들이 제공하는 유료 서비스를 구독해서 이분들의 철저한 리서치를 바탕으로 10배 이상 성장할 가능성이 높은 추천 주식 포트폴리오들, 올해 이미 200% 이상 수익낸 주식들이 대부분인데요. 이분들의 포트폴리오도 업데이트 되는 대로 다 나누도록 하겠고요. 제가 장기 투자 목적으로 매수하는 주식들과 트레이드 할 경우 매수 매도 지점, 그리고 제가 하는 옵션들도 함께 나누도록 하겠습니다. 이런 페이트리온 멤버십 서비스에 관심 있으신 분들께서는 아래 디스크립션에 링크를 클릭하셔서 함께 했으면 좋겠습니다. 조금이라도 도움이 되셨다면 주위 분들과 나눠주셨으면 너무 고맙겠고요. 구독과 라이크를 해주시면 더욱 감사하겠습니다. 자, 다음 컨텐츠에서 다시 뵙겠습니다.